Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another feature episode that we're going to be taking a look at Isles of Adalar. I wanted to let you guys know some of the things that the development crew over at Peakway is really wanting to get across with this game. These quotes are going to come directly from their Steam store where they're doing the early release of the demo, and I'll also throw in a little bit of information here and there that I've seen through researching the game, talking to Peakway, and also through playing the game myself and experiencing the different game modes. Just to give you guys a quick overview, Isles of Adalar is going to be a role-playing game that's unlike any other in a sense of it's going a lot more in-depth, a lot deeper into things that a lot of other video games have kind of skirted away from. We're talking about all sorts of different perks, all sorts of different areas that you can put experience into, different types of things that whether you say it, whether you do it, or whatever are going to change the outcome of the game and how characters around you interact with you. Right now, the main focus is on online multiplayer, but after talking to the guys at Peakway, they've reassured me that there is going to be a LAN feature eventually. They're going to work it into development. That way you can play not only with friends that are sitting next to you, but also friends from the other side of the planet. In talking about the multiplayer, Peakway has said, and I quote, "We've always wanted to experience this style of RPG with a few friends. With that in mind, Isles of Adalar will support up to 4-player co-op on release. However, we know multiplayer isn't for everyone, so we will manually scale the difficulty of every encounter to keep the integrity of the single-player game design." I think that this is really refreshing to see that Peakway is looking at it not only from a multiplayer standpoint, but from those people that don't necessarily like multiplayer and prefer single-player campaigns. It's good to see that they're going to be taking the difficulty levels and structuring them differently based on how many players are playing, so you don't end up with a game that is hitting you with a curve so hard that single player is too hard or multiplayer is too easy. It is going to work around that curve depending on how you're playing it, and that's really refreshing to see that a game development studio is taking that into account. One of the things that Isles of Adalar is always going to be compared to is the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And why is that? It's because Skyrim is probably the largest, most in-depth RPG that most people have seen. One of the main reasons behind that isn't necessarily the work that Bethesda put in with making it such a large and immersive world, but also because of the modding community. The guys over at Peakway knew this whenever they started working on Isles of Adalar, and so that's why since the very beginning they've said they're going to offer full mod support, and not only with support with their own game, but also in the ability to create worlds and campaigns on your own. They said about the modding and modding community, "Our vision is for Isles of Adalar to become known over time as a nearly endless RPG experience, rich with narrative-driven content. With this in mind, we've designed our game to support mods and user-generated content from the very beginning. Everything that exists in this game is created using the same level editor that ships inside the game, so the modders have access to all the tools we use ourselves to create campaigns. Just shipping tools for modding is not enough to realize our vision. We're going to be actively working to build up a creative community around our game. This starts with making tools as user-friendly and efficient to use as possible so that small teams of only a handful of people can make large-scale campaigns. But in addition to the tools, we will also be giving players extra content that is not used in the base game so that their campaigns can feel unique. This will range from environmental biomes to different styles of architecture and even new enemies." So I think it's amazing that the guys over at Peakway are even creating new enemies, new structures, new environments and stuff specifically just for the modding community. These are going to be things that aren't going to be in the base game, but purely just so you can build and add and create yourself to continue to make the game immersive, large scale, and replayable to the ends of time. And I think that that is a concept that is amazing, and I think that that alone is worthy of support and looking into, because if you're somebody that likes to create games, if you're somebody that likes to dive down and mod, even if you're not doing the modding yourself, but to experience new and different worlds, this is a game changer. You're not going to see anything else like this on the market today, and I truly believe that if you follow Isles of Adalar, Peakway, and their growth, you're going to see a lot of things like that that are game-changing and completely and totally going to bring new things to this genre that we haven't seen before, and the modding is just the beginning. Speaking of replayability, One of the big things with RPGs is trying to always create different characters and different looks and different playthroughs so you can make the game as replayable as possible and see all the different things. One of the things that Peakway is really trying to accomplish with that is their perk and skill system. Now, I noticed a little bit whenever I was doing the playthrough that there's different personality traits, and based on your personality traits, that affects your knowledge and your wisdom and your skill and all of this stuff. And usually that would be about the end of it. But when you start using that in conversations that you're having with the NPCs, you're going to realize that those little skills start branching out and affecting other things. For instance, if you are a master of lore, you're going to know more about the background of things, so you're going to be able to unlock and get more information out of NPCs about specific events than you would if you were just a silver tongue. This is very, very important in a sense that, as Peakway says, choice and consequence is at the core of our dialogue system. We use a hybrid, mostly text-based system that features non-specific voice lines for NPCs. This allows us to have an in-depth dialogue with the characters in the world, but also gives the player necessary feedback to reflect the NPC's general attitude and response to the player. For example, you may try to intimidate a bandit, and if you fail the speech check, you may get voice response saying something like, "I won't stand for this," but the text can be more in-depth and context-specific. Instead of using a speech skill to determine dialogue choices and persuasion success, the player can assign multiple personality traits to their character and use these traits to give unique responses. The success or failure of a persuasion attempt is determined by both the player character's level and if a specific type of persuasion logically makes sense in the context of the situation. So I think one of the things that they're talking about here is if you happen to be talking to an NPC in a situation where intimidation would be the best approach, intimidation is going to be an option. However, there's going to be certain times when it's just not logical to intimidate, and you may want to persuade them, or however you want to go about it. And so you're going to end up with different options. And what it's saying whenever it says that the voiced response is going to say something like, "I won't stand for this," but the text will be more in-depth. I experienced that a little bit with the playthrough, where what was being said on screen was generally what was being typed out, but what was being typed out gave you a little bit more of an in-depth and a way of responding to it. But once you see it in play, it's going to make a lot more sense, and it opens up a lot more possibilities, a lot more dialogue, and a lot more openness and replayability that Isles of Adalar and Peakway are really, really trying to accomplish. Overall, I've got to say, Isles of Adalar has got to be one of the most driven campaigns to try and create something new and to take a genre to a different level. We've all seen different games where, whether it was Grand Theft Auto, whether it was Max Payne, whether it was The Matrix, any of these games that you see that kind of created a totally different level. Grand Theft Auto with the open world, you got Max Payne with the bullet time, you've got The Matrix with a lot of their time shifts and the camera angles and things like that they did. These are things that somebody has to start them somewhere to reinvent a genre, and I think if you guys check out Isles of Adalar and you really look at it, then you're going to see that this is one of those opportunities, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really get out there and be a part of a change in a genre. I'm telling you guys, after looking at some of this stuff, I'll be able to admit there are some issues here and there. The guys over at Peakway, after talking to them, they have admitted that there's bugs in the demo, which it's obvious. It's an early release. They asked me not to get too focused on that stuff, but I will bring it up for a purpose of impartiality. But even then, I haven't seen a whole lot. We've got game studios out there that are basically well known for shipping with bugs and with glitches and all of that. And these guys are even wanting to polish that up, so that's not an issue at launch. So we know there's going to be little issues, there's going to be little hiccups. But for those of us that have done beta testing and done early release and stuff like that, that is completely forgivable because we understand the grand scale of what they're trying to do. I would urge you guys to definitely check this out, and if at all else, please go on to Steam, look up Isles of Adalar. You can find it easily in the search. Download the demo, check it out, but most importantly, put the game on your wish list. The more that the game goes on the wish list, the more eyes are going to be seen on it. The more eyes that are seen on it, the better the Indiegogo campaign goes, the more steam this game starts to gain, and then we can really start to see this change that Peakway has envisioned. And I know, Peakway is just a small game development studio out of North Carolina. There's not that many people working on this game, and so that's what's so mind-blowing is when you really get into it and you look at the meat and potatoes of this project and you see how large scale and how in-depth it already is. It's going to blow your mind, and it's worth the investment. It's worth the look. It's worth your time, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I appreciate that you guys are going to keep coming back, keep checking for updates, keep looking at stuff that Peakway is going to put out, and until next time, I'm the Amazing Bacon. I'll talk to you guys later.